Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin here, bringing you guys some Deadwing action. Spawning at the bottom right is our red Protoss player on Team KT Rolster. It is Zest, and at the bottom left, it is our blue Terran player on Team Liquid, TaeJa. I figured I'd kind of reverse the introduction here. This is from the round of 16 of IEM Shenzhen, which was a recent global challenge hosted by the Intel Extreme Masters, and it is part of a best of 5 series. At the very end of the game, I'll let you know how the whole series panned out, because as you know, for the past year or so, roughly, since I did take around a year hiatus, but you know what I mean, since about, I think, 6 months into my pro game casting, when I started actually casting professional level games, I no longer do whole series. I used to say, okay, I'll cast entire best of 3, entire best of 5, and then I realized some of the games in such a series are not that great. I've since been casting only the highest rated games overall. I use Team Liquid as a source, since a lot of the live reporting threads, they have recommended games where users vote on the best game. So if I can't quite remember which game was especially memorable, then I can just check those threads and I have them as a reference. I did watch IEM Shenzhen, and I did watch this particular best of 5 series. Very exciting. KT Zest, a Korean Protoss, both these players Korean, but our red Protoss especially a GSL champion last year, and TaeJa, he's a complete powerhouse on a global level, capturing tournaments in Europe, in America, in Korea, but in Korea, never winning the GSL, which for me, that's the only reason I'm not a huge TaeJa fan, huge TaeJa supporter. And I'm open to debate on this matter. Totally just comment if you have a differing opinion, because TaeJa's a phenomenal player, I'm not doubting that. But I believe that a true StarCraft 2 star, doesn't matter how many foreign tournaments they're able to capture, must be able to win a GSL at some point to truly be considered a phenomenal overall player. And that might seem a little bit unreasonable, but you look at somebody like MC, right now his skill level is definitely comparable to TaeJa. TaeJa is probably better at the moment, but at one point in time, MC was able to duke it out with the best of the Korean players in the heart of their extremely competitive metagame, and he was able to win. He won the GSL Open Season 3 in 2010. Even if I feel as though these players, I call them foreign Koreans, they're from Korea, they've played in the GSL repeatedly, but now they're winning all sorts of dream hacks, IEMs, and WCS EU or America. I feel as though they're not necessarily as good as some of the top Koreans in the GSL at that same time. So let's say TaeJa, he won a Home Story Cup earlier this year. So let's say in that moment, as soon as he was winning that Home Story Cup, he played the reigning GSL champion. I don't believe he would be able to beat them. That's just why I'm not a massive TaeJa fan, and why I'm not extremely pro TaeJa. It's just because I don't feel he would be able to pull that off, because he is not a leading Korean player. Even though he can win against foreigners, he can win against other foreign Koreans, I just don't believe that TaeJa would necessarily be able to stack up in that regard. And that's the only complaint I have. And we'll see how this game pans out, because Zest is a fairly recent GSL champion, but in accordance with my theory, not a reigning GSL champion, because Classic did beat Sue, who has been to the finals 3 times in a row. But I'm not trying to denounce TaeJa. I'm not trying to say he's not skilled, because, hey, he's won crazy amounts of prize money, more than some of the GSL winners, more than some of the top-tier Koreans, and for him, that's probably what matters most. And he's flexible, he's able to win in different parts of the globe, different climates in terms of strategy, different climates in terms of race balances and general build order preferences. So, on that same flip side of the coin, TaeJa is a phenomenal player, and I do not stack up anywhere even 1/millionth of the level of these guys. So, I'm just saying, by comparison, I'm more of a GSL champion kind of fan. I prefer to root for players that are really top-tier Koreans, but it's stressful, and it can be monotonous, and hey, I'd argue TaeJa has had some fun of going around the world and capturing tournaments in pretty much every continent. But now, getting into our actual game casting, because I've spent about 5 minutes just talking about skill level, and talking about TaeJa, and talking about why I'm not a huge fan. We do have a couple of Hellions running towards Classic space, or Zest space. Who am I talking about? Classic. But there are Stalkers there, ready to go, and the Mothership Core as well. Great defensive unit, phenomenal staple in any Protoss' early game. And we have fairly standard build order openings out of Zest. He is getting his Warp Gate, he's getting his Robo Facility. TaeJa expanding a little bit later than his opponent. He's got a Reactor Factory, and he's got a pair of barracks. I was looking for a starport there, but he's actually going to put that factory on a tech lab and probably go for tanks or Widow Mines perhaps. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he throws down a starport and commits to full-on bio. That's the standard here for TvP, in my opinion, is just bio. Pure and unadulterated bio. But you do see the occasional innovative mech player that likes to change things up. I've seen TaeJa play bio many a time, but that does not mean he has no mech in his arsenal. There is a proxy pylon here from Zest, and it will be interesting to see how these 3 stalkers hold up. They are coming in from the destructible rocks near the natural expansion of TaeJa. That's the thing for me on these newer maps, especially Deadwing. There's a lot of the debris, destructible rocks. Destructible rocks is the old term, and I'm pretty sure it's still applied to actual rocks. But this is debris. I just find some of the expansions are fairly hard to hold. There's a lot of different points at which an opposing player can put on pressure, and we'll have to see how Zest is going to be able to do this. It's not a third base. It's not a very detached expansion. TaeJa may not have a huge standing army, but I don't think he's going to necessarily crumble under this kind of pressure, because Zest himself just has 6 stalkers sitting there, and he's only building more stalkers. So maybe he is building an army on the back of this. He's getting an observer, and he's macroing up. But I just don't think this kind of pressure will be enough. He doesn't have blink. He doesn't have any upgrades on these stalkers. And we'll have to see if TaeJa is going to see this. He can probably hear it. He can probably see it. So he is probably going to throw down a bunker. And he will indeed. He already has one here at the main point of entry from an opponent's point of view. And I find Zest is overcommitting to this. That is an awful lot of stalkers. And unless he seriously manages to do major damage, because now he knows TaeJa has seen this attacking force, then it's totally not going to be worth it. So we do now have the stalkers poking away at some SCVs, Marines, and a single Marauder attacking the stalkers. No blink here, don't forget, so he can't put the wounded ones back to the back of his stalker force. He's killing a lot of Marines here, but now the bunker has been filled up with 2 of them and a Marauder. That will be critical. Zest just trying to come to a standoff with his opponent, which he does. He's out of the bunker's range, but the bunker is out of his range. Now SCVs are mass repairing, and every stalker Zest loses is just an expensive and unnecessary loss. But here he goes in his opponent's base, killing Marine after Marine, stutter stepping here, killing a lot of SCVs, but this is a very bulky stalker force, so it's not like it's a couple DTs wreaking havoc. He is still losing a lot of forces himself. So it looks like this main stalker force will go down, and TaeJa is going to resume mining already, so he feels as though he has this. Hellions not so great against stalkers, but Zest warping in even more, 3 more stalkers, which I do not at all agree with. He has no blink, he has no upgrades, he lost the entire force, and the resources lost actually favors TaeJa, even if the worker count favors Zest by 11. So he's going to kill this bunker here. If he had a sentry to force field off the ramp, that would be critical, and TaeJa will not get the salvage on that bunker, unfortunately for him. But Zest is going to start attacking the natural. I just think if TaeJa can break this, Zest is going to have lost so much in terms of resources. There's that force field at long last, and the command center is going to come under attack. Unless Zest manages to kill it, I think TaeJa will just be able to land it over there, drop a mule, repair it, and get right back into this. There's the time warp dropped on the ramp, so just a larger radius force field, pretty much, to stall his opponent's units. But TaeJa is going to be able to save this. Even though Zest is floating his mothership core over there, I think a mule will be able to... Oh, no! The command center lifted off again. Now here's another engage. We have some Marine Marauder forces poking down this stalker group, and now there are 3 zealots coming in from behind, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think the stalkers will be dead before the zealots will make a difference. They are slow zealots, don't forget, and it looks like TaeJa's just going to be able to clean this up. Zest ahead in supply. He's ahead 17 workers, but he's kicked up the hornet's nest. It's becoming a favorite saying of mine, and I will say it again in this game in case some of you didn't see my last video. This orbital command just barely going to survive, I think. Hopefully so for TaeJa. He's really going to have to, and I'll resume with my little theory in just a second. So yeah, he's already got SCVs on there, and even if those SCVs are killed, he has his bio forces to fend off the mothership core, so extremely clutch out of TaeJa. But kicking up the hornet's nest is when you deal significant, or a player deals significant damage economically to another player, and then they are in a position where if they continue to macro up, they will undoubtedly win the game. But their opponent has a larger standing army, which TaeJa pretty much has right now. Kicking the hornet's nest means you kick the nest, you got to be able to withstand the sting of the hornets, or else you're going to die, you're going to lose the game. Even if you gave it 5 minutes and you completely win from an economic standpoint, right now it looks like Zest might just lose outright because of this small little bioforce that TaeJa had that was larger than his army. It looks like that Immortal is just going to die there, which already begins to justify it in favor of TaeJa. He's starting to attack his opponent's economy. Now he's evening out the economic damage, and it looks like TaeJa may well capture the game. Excellently so. Zest very nearly had it, but TaeJa is just bringing in reinforcements. The Hornet Sting is too strong for Zest. He's allergic to it, and he is very well going to collapse here and have to be rushed to the ER to receive immediate treatment for the after effects of the Sting. Obviously, I don't mean to offend anybody that might actually have allergies to Stings, but you get my expression. I like to use it in such games as this. And as my computer slowly decays, so too does Zest's chances, and he calls the GG. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. The final score of the series, I will not spoil it for you in case you want to watch the VODs, but I'll tell you in just a second here. So spoiler alert for this best of 5, 3-2-1. TaeJa won 3-0, which was a huge surprise. I was rooting for Zest. I'm a Protoss player, and I told you why I would prefer Zest to win overall. But TaeJa took it. Kudos to him. He took the whole tournament. And that's the end of our cast, guys. I know I've been bringing you a fairly small pool of players. I've been bringing a lot of TaeJa games, a lot of Jaedong games, a lot of similar names, Hyun as well. But these are the guys that are performing at a high level, so I'm not going to discriminate necessarily. They are producing phenomenal games. These are the highest rated games. So if you'd like me to diversify it, do let me know. But if you just don't mind these huge names performing well consistently, then let me know as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Aust77, and I will see you guys